Welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show with celebrity nutrition expert, fitness Hall of Famer, and 4-time New York Times bestselling author, JJ Virgin. JJ is a warrior mom whose knowledge and expertise have helped change hundreds of thousands of lives with over 3.5 million podcast downloads and appearances on Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, The Today Show, Rachel Ray, Larry King Live.
Whoa. This show is about you, not about me. I want to help you find practical, real-world ways to dial in your health and mindset so you can finally lose that weight and feel strong and energized. Stop settling for less than your personal best. It's time to find out how to look and feel better than ever. And I'll be right here with you the whole way. I have an icon in the industry today. I am just so fortunate. I think I'm just the luckiest gal on the planet that I got to meet Dr. Joe Mercola. Gosh, what was it? 20 plus years ago, I got to meet Dr. Joe Mercola at a small little event in Boulder, Colorado, and hang out with him. And, kept in touch with him. And he, in fact, is the person I credit to why I actually have all my work out in the world. Because when I wrote my very, very first book, I went to dinner with Joe in LA, and he was like, here's what you need to do. He is a generous, kind soul and just ridiculously brilliant, dedicated to the science, dedicated to getting the truth out there. And I just adore him. So I think you probably all know who Dr. Joe Mercola is, but if you don't, if you're one of the 3 people who don't, he's a passionate advocate of natural medicine, a wellness champion, and a visionary. And I would say they're a major, brave, courageous soul because he has gone and taken the hits and done what needed to be done to start implementing change in our current healthcare system. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and he has the #1 natural health website, www.mercola.com, that educates and empowers millions of subscribers to take control of their health. We will put that in the show notes. We have amazing show notes. You are going to want to have them at jjvirgin.com/oxygen. You're going to want to grab what we have for you today. And today we are going to be talking about oxidative stress. And here's one of Joe's gifts. He has the ability to take complicated things and break them down so that you understand what they are, you understand what you need to do so that you can then take immediate action. Super gift. We'll be doing that today with this. You're going to find out why this is so important for your longevity and what you can do right away. Now, before we dive into that, I want to do a big shout out to Joie Girl 23, hope I said that right, who said, love this podcast, 5 stars. Every episode has JJ's wit, sarcasm, and smarts. I love the topics and guests she brings on. I never miss an episode. Thank you so much. I super appreciate that. You know, if you've been on the podcast, that what we do every week is shout it on out to someone who's left a review. And I would love nothing more than to shout out you. So if you have not been over there yet to leave a review, go on over to iTunes. And while you're there, of course, be sure to subscribe because you do not want to miss shows like this one today. All right, Dr. Joe Mercola, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you with me today.
Hey, it's so great to be here with you, JJ.
Yeah, we're going to dive into a topic that could be complicated, but I know that you're going to make the complicated very easy to understand. And we are going to be talking about oxidative stress today. So I want to dive in with that. And first of all, I'd love to know why you got, first of all, what is it? What the heck is oxidative stress? And why should we care? And how did you get interested in it in the first place? So let's start with what is it and how did you start diving into it?
Well, it's really one of the fundamental characteristics of aging. It really is why we age, and it causes consequences like inflammation and damage to your cell proteins, your membranes, and most importantly, your DNA. And when you get enough damage in your DNA, your telomeres shorten and you just stop working. You hit the death.
All right, let's break down telomeres for everybody.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Telomeres are the end caps on chromosomes, and there's a lot of people who believe that's the true biological aging clock. So the shorter your telomeres, the less likely you're going to live long.
Clearly, then, this is something we need to be concerned about because everybody listening, we want to de-age. We don't want to do anything that's accelerating our aging here, right? So then how are we creating more oxidative stress? What's going on?
Well, it's really some of there's two primary processes, and I've written books around them and books to be published in the next 2 years. Actually, my Open Magnus will probably be written in a year and a half. It's like 1,000 pages now with 2,000 references, and it's not even half done. So, but I go deep into the molecular biology, which I'm not going to.
That sounds like an encyclopedia set.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It is good. I am just so jazzed about this. But anyway,
I don't have to do anything. All I ever have to do is read the stuff you send me, and I'm totally good. So you're just my one-stop shop now.
Yeah, there we go. So it boils down to two primary processes. One, you're eating the wrong foods, is what you've been telling your people all along, and just follow what you're doing. And when you do that, as you and Mark Sisson have so widely popularized, you become metabolically flexible. You can burn fat as a primary fuel, unlike 85% of the U.S. population. And when you do that, the reason you do that, then you can create these ketones, which are 4 carbon fats, very short and water soluble, and they easily penetrate cell membranes and your brain, and they can fill your brain, and then you don't have to use glucose as much. And when you burn glucose as a fuel, as 85% of people do, then you are creating excessive oxidative stress, because you need some oxidative stress, otherwise known as reactive oxygen species. You need some. They're important biological signaling molecules, but if you have it too much, that causes a problem, and that causes the damage we referred to earlier. So that's the primary one, and I think your crowd has probably caught that covered really well. I think we're doing another interview about the new book I have, which
yes.
It takes it to the next level, but the foundation is you cannot. My other book is called Keto Fast. It comes out April 30th, but you cannot engage in that process until you're metabolically flexible. It just will not work. So that's the foundation. You got to become metabolically flexible, and you've been teaching your crowd to do that for a long time. Congratulations!
Yeah, and it's really is fantastic to look beyond. We think of diet a lot in this community because people are wanting to lose weight. To me, that's just a symptom of your diet and everything else is not working well. And so let's really look at diet as reducing oxidative stress, improving health, and de-aging you. So diet is the biggie, and that's great because that's such an easy, it's simple, not easy. Should be easy, but it's a simple one to shift. What else?
The next one that almost everyone listening to this is in sure and utter denial is a radio frequency exposures, otherwise known as EMF. And they're in denial for two primary reasons. One is because of the incredible convenience. I mean, who wouldn't want the benefits of a cell phone and be able to hail an Uber and have wireless on your notebooks and everything, and all that benefits that's entailed. So we want the benefits. And the other factor why we're in denial is that almost every health official and federal regulatory agency says it's safe. And there's a reason for that. And you can get deep into the weeds on the reasons if you watch the movie Merchants of Doubt, or if you read the book, which is even better. And it goes into how there's an incredible influence of industry on the federal regulatory agencies. And they essentially own it. There's a revolving door between them. And it's interesting because the mantra is that cell phones, this is the mantra in the book I'm writing that will be out either later this year or next year. And the mantra of that book is cell phones. Your cell phone is indeed the cigarettes of the 21st century. And just like cigarettes, and everyone can remember this, everyone listening to this knows that the tobacco industry vehemently denied that there was any connection between smoking and cancer. And get this, they were denying it despite the federal regulatory agencies saying that it causes cancer. The Surgeon General, the EPA, the FDA, they were all telling them. And even though they were telling them that, it took 30 years for them because the industry created all this doubt and confusion that the science wasn't settled, when indeed it was settled decades earlier, that that they were able to continue their craziness for another 3 decades. Well, we don't even have the federal regulatory agencies saying it's dangerous. They're all aligned with industry. So it's going to be even longer and harder for people to understand the truth. And I just want you to have that as a framework to understand why the consensus is not around like it is about smoking being dangerous as EMFs are.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody on this podcast can remember back to actually when they advertised that 3 out of 5 doctors recommended a specific brand of supplement or cigarettes. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I wasn't getting JAMA as a print journal at that time because I think that was the 30s and 40s. I don't think I was born yet. But I don't, because they stopped doing that.
But I still remember seeing those, like everyone showing us those ads, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So,
yeah, they were being run, but they were printed.
But it's such a great analogy to look at this as the new smoking.
Now,
and here's the thing: easy to change your diet. This is not an easy. I'm sitting here with my cell phone, sitting on the desk.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the 2. I know we have a short time, so I'll give you the 2 important take homes, but not before I'll tell you the other fact that you need to understand that will help you grasp and understand, and hopefully have the motivation to implement what I'm going to suggest. So that is that there is no question, no one listening to this and their doctor or any public health authority will deny that ionizing radiation like X-rays and nuclear material and gamma rays when you're flying are dangerous. They cause DNA damage and will kill you prematurely. That is no question. That is undisputed. But what they're saying is that non-ionizing radiation, like your cell phone and microwave and Wi-Fi, doesn't cause that type of damage. And you know what, JJ? They're right. It doesn't cause that damage. They are longer frequencies. They have less energy and less energy to break the covalent DNA bonds and cause the damage that way, like X-rays do. But what they do have is, when we get back to the other thing we talked about, is oxidative stress. They create this profound, and perhaps in most cases, and even more oxidative stress and exposure to the ionizing radiation when you fly or when you are having X-rays or CT scans. So the way they do that is when you're exposed to EMFs, they activate a calcium channel in your cell membrane, and that causes this release of calcium ions, which are literally 20 to 100,000 times in higher concentration outside your cell than inside your cell. And you say, so what? Well, what's calcium for? Calcium is an important component of building bones, but it also is a really important biological signaling molecule. And when you have this high influx of calcium into the cell after being exposed to EMFs like your wireless and Wi-Fi and cell phones, then it causes a release of nitric oxide. And here's what I'll get with the chemistry, and superoxide, which are free radicals. They combine together to form another really toxic molecule called peroxynitrite that virtually none of your physicians or understand or have ever even heard of it, know what it is. But it goes in and it can penetrate the nuclear membrane and cause the DNA damage, just like the X-rays. And now we know the mechanism. And so essentially, ionizing radiation, X-rays, cause DNA damage, no dispute. Your phone does not, but it causes the same DNA damage in a different mechanism.
So what do we do? What do we do?
I couldn't tell you what to do unless you were motivated to do it. It would be just a waste of time, right? You've got to be motivated. You've got to understand this is the real deal. If I had 3 hours, I'd go deep into the weeds and give you even more information, but I don't have that time. Read my book when it comes out in a year. So
that's great. Read my book when it comes out in a year. I know we were talking offline. We're going to have some kind of cool, yet to be determined, but by the time this podcast is out, you're going to give them something to get them started. We can't leave everyone hanging.
If you want to go minor deep into the weeds, you can go into a book. The best book out there now until mine gets published is called The Tinfoil Guide to EMF. And it's written by a friend of mine called Nicholas Pineau. He's got the best comprehensive resource at this point. But the simple things that you can implement, the 2 most powerful things you do, is that you never, unless you have some biological emergency, like your child's going to, need to be out of the hospital or something, have your phone on your physical body unless it's in airplane mode. You cannot do that. Now, there's a benefit of this. Your phone battery will last longer. And JJ, your question now is to ask me, well, Joe, how often do you charge your phone?
Okay, Joe, how often do you charge your phone?
I charge my phone once every 10 days. And that's not because I have a super battery. I just have a regular Android phone once every 10 days. Because if you're not, it's in airplane mode, it's not generating using electricity. And you got to remember, when you're charging your phone every day, you're plugging it into the wall. You're sucking up current, power, energy into your phone, and you're causing that phone to. It's a literally, essentially, a cell phone tower in your home. The radio frequency waves reach you at over 50 feet and cause damage. The closer you are to the phone, the worse it is. And if it's on your body, that's about as bad as it can get. And if you're holding it to your brain, well, it's only next to, the brain. What does that matter? No, so it's going to cause problems. And a lot of famous people have died from glioblastomas, these brain tumors, because they were holding to their phone. The most recent one was John McCain. Cell phone tumor, glioblastoma. And it's a deadly tumor. No one survives that unless you're doing some really sophisticated things that Thomas Seyfried does and Dominic Agostino and some other luminaries who understand, how the metabolic biochemistry of mitochondria.
What else? Someone using their cell phone, right? And the other one that absolutely freaks me out is seeing those little weird Bluetooth devices that people put in their ears. I've got to imagine those are equally horrible.
Yeah, they are. And you don't have to imagine it all, because you can go to this really obscure website. It's called Amazon, and you can purchase a device for $150. It's called Acoustic, just like the word acoustic, and then a COM, OM, so Acoustic COM 2. It's about $150, and it will tell you turn it on, it will measure radio frequencies from a few hundred megahertz to about 3 gigahertz, or actually 8 gigahertz. So that's the range that your cell phone and cell phone towers and Wi-Fi operate at. And it can easily tell you if this is an issue, if your blue tone is a problem. And you won't tell you yes or no. It will quantitatively assess the level of the frequency for you, so you know just how dangerous it is.
All right. We will put that in the show notes too. And what about, I'm assuming we are all walking around with this damage. There's no way we're not. And is there a way to tell how much damage you have? Is there a way to measure this peroxynitrite? Now, can you tell?
Yes,
how would you know?
You want to say trait, but it is trite with an I.
Trite. Yeah, I was looking at it. It says trite here, but I was like, How is there a way to know how much damage you've done? And then is there a way to reverse it?
I only think there's research assays. They're not commercial assays to measure peroxynitrite, but you can measure 2-DOG, which is 2-deoxyguanine, which is a oxidized nucleotide in DNA, which essentially gives you that indirect information. So that's one way. It doesn't matter, because you and I are in the same boat with respect to our health goals. It is really to optimize longevity and actually essentially reset that aging clock. And that's a whole other book. That's what I'm going to have out in 2 years.
You have so many books you have to write, Joe. I can't believe you even have time to talk to me today.
This is the one that's 1,000 pages already with like 1,700. So it's basically half written now. So I know what's in the book. It's not like it's some fantasy dream I want to write. This is being written as we speak. Every night I work on it. And it's essentially this book is telling you how you can reset the clock. We can't do it yet, but there's these mechanisms that are evolving with the Yamanaka factors and the Horvath clock and DNA methylation and getting, basically resetting your cells to pluripotent stem cells. It's just fascinating stuff.
But right now, today, if you've done damage with cell phones, which we all have, there's nothing you can do to reverse it.
Yeah, I think you can reverse it. But you can't reverse the aging at this time. You can slow down. You can basically slam the brakes on aging, but you can't reverse it at this point in time.
Okay.
As far as I know, right, in my review of the literature, and I could be wrong. But
I'm counting on you to figure that one out, the reverse part. So I'm just going to throw that out there to you.
I'm really excited about that. There's some incredible research going on. They got the Nobel Prize for it in 2012. Yamanaka did, for these master genes that could actually activate your genes to essentially go back to like a germ cell, like you do with your sperm and your egg. Because the biological clock is set to 0. They're not as old as the parents. They get a new fresh start, and I think we'll be able to do that at some point.
Hopefully, fairly soon for us. So obviously, the biggest takeaway here is we have got to get these cell phones out. And you're going to be horrified, but I was sitting here going, oh my gosh, I go to the gym. I have my cell phone with me and I'm listening to podcasts and I'm like, oh, what was I thinking?
There's one more in EMFs, which is your Wi-Fi, which is literally a cell phone tower in your home. So a lot of people don't do anything in this because, oh, they got all those cell phone towers. My neighbor's got Wi-Fi. I got, what? Why do I have to do anything? It's not going to matter. Yes, it does matter because it's a distance issue. So you got to turn off the Wi-Fi in your home, certainly at night, but ideally you contract a home theater company because those are the companies that can run the Ethernet wires you need in your house behind the wall. So it's cosmetically okay. And then you switch to Ethernet, and then you got to turn all your devices into airplane mode. Like you can have your Ethernet hooked up to your computer, but if your computer is still emitting a signal, that's not a good thing. So you need everything in airplane mode, and then you double confirm it with Acousticom 2 to make sure you're not getting any RF signals, radio frequency signals.
EMFs, diet. I just want to ask one more about oxidative stress. Is aerobic exercise? But there's a big difference between, say, walking and going and doing marathon running, for example. So does higher intensity endurance exercise create more oxidative stress or not?
It does, typically, especially longer. Like if you're an elite marathoner running, 2-hour marathons or 2 hours and change marathons, then you're having loads of oxidative stress. But if you do an ultra marathon like Bill Andrews, who's the telomere expert you need to interview, he does them like just comfortable talking pace. So there's some evidence to suggest that may actually help lengthen telomeres. So I don't know that anyone needs to walk more than an hour a day. I mean, I'm an advocate of stretching and yoga and strength training. Resistance training is incredibly useful, especially as you get older, because there's a tendency to lose muscle mass. So you can pretty much abort most of that muscle mass loss by these practices, and they will actually radically slow down the aging class. They're one of the most important things to maintain your health as an exercise program, but it doesn't work if you've got this radical exposure to oxidative stress from your EMF environment and you're eating the bad food, because they'll trump any exercise you do. You can't erase that.
Huge. All right. This is fantastic. We are going to have some kind of super cool information from you, yet to be determined. So you're going to want to go and grab that.
You know why? Because people like surprises.
There we go. We just switched it up, jjvirgin.com/oxygen. And we're going to be back. I've got Dr. Joe in for a couple podcasts. So there's going to be another one coming out. You're going to want to definitely grab that. If you've not subscribed yet, you'll want to, so you don't miss this stuff. And thank you so much for your time, Joe, today with this subject, and for me making that commitment to never be at the gym with my iPhone on my hip, listening to a podcast in transmitting mode.
Yeah, we don't want you coming down with osteosarcoma or ovarian failure early.
Gosh. Yeah, no, please, no. All right. After the break, I'll be answering a listener's question, so stay with me. Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question, and I love to pull these off of my social feeds. What I like to do on social media is connect with you. So we have groups on Facebook for people who are my programs. And then we also have our main page where I like to do my lives, JJ Virgin Official. And then, of course, I also do more on Instagram, jj.virgin. So I was chatting the other day, and this question about exercise came up. What is the best exercise to do, JJ, from Mary? And, here's the most important thing. And I'm trying to remember where. I think it was Scientific America said, unlike other species, like I'm looking over at my lazy dog right now who's lying there all day long, we as humans have to move. We must have exercise to be healthy. There is no option here. And so, the very best exercise, because I often get asked, what's the best exercise? When's the best time to do it? Here's the thing. The very best exercise is what you'll do, and the very best time is when you'll do it. Now, obviously, maybe I'm being a little facetious, but if you hate something, and, if I said, okay, every morning you have to get up at 6 a.m. and you need to do an intense hot yoga class. And you go, but I hate hot yoga. And in the morning, I like to do all my brain power stuff, well, that would be a silly recommendation. And you might have heard that one. That's me. I'm not a big yoga fan, and I like to do my brain power stuff in the morning. So we've got to work around a schedule that works well for you. Now, we do know that people who work out in the morning tend to be more consistent with it because it doesn't get shelved by the end of the day. And I personally think we're better off working out sometime between mid-morning, morning to early afternoon. But as far as what to do, here's my formula. This is, if you can choose anything, this is my optimal formula. And here's how I walk you through it. And I do this for the hormonal impact. And I will put in the show notes some information on this too. It's part of my fast fitness program. So again, the show notes are going to be jjvirgin.com/oxygen. But what I have you do is, first off, start to move more. You heard Dr. Joe talk about an hour of walking a day. So what can you do? That's cumulative, by the way. You don't have to do that all at once. So what can you do every day to get in those steps? Now, you can wear an Oura Ring, a Fitbit, whatever it is to track that, but just make sure that you actually are moving more. This is where a dog comes into handy, because they're going to make you move more with just the little guilt that they look at you with. So get some dogs, move more. Next up, add in some resistance style training, and that can be body weight, that can be weight training, but you want to do that because you want to make sure that as you're aging, you're maintaining and improving your lean body mass. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So I love to incorporate some balance into that as well. And you want to hit all of your major muscle groups, your upper body pushing, your upper body pulling, hips and thigh, and power core at least twice a week. And I, again, go into detail on that in my fast fitness program. So that's the next one. Then high intensity interval training. I say burst to blast fat. And we like this because it teaches your sympathetic nervous system how to handle stress better. It's very it's time efficient. And it's basically where you go all out, say you sprint or you run upstairs for 30 to 60 seconds, and then you recover for twice as long, and you repeat to accumulate 4 minutes of total bursting. And then finally, some things that help you with calming down, dealing with your stress hormones. So stuff like stretching, Pilates, yoga, the restorative kind, not the hardcore, right? Some flexibility work in there. Turns out resistance training can help you be more flexible, and flexibility can help you be stronger. So you want to put in some flexibility work that helps lower stress hormones and helps with balance as well. So that's kind of the easy 4-step formula. And again, if you've got questions, pop onto my social feeds. Be sure to like me so that I feel better about myself. No, I'm saying, but no, so that you'll know when I'm on, right? And then we can pop in and hang out together. And I love doing that, honestly. I love speaking on stages. This is the second best thing I can do, is because I get to hang out with people. So this is my virtual stage. All right. Remember, jjvirgin.com/oxygen. Grab those awesome show notes. And if you have not subscribed yet, be sure you do, because we got great stuff going on and you don't want to miss an episode. All right, see ya.
That's all for this episode of the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, which marks another step towards a healthier body and mind. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and we'll talk to you next week.